Welcome back to Q Dads, guys. It's me, Ben, and yes, I'm doing a face video too because I can't let Steve have all the fun. And I'm here today to talk about Severance and more importantly, that season 2 intro. So let's waste some time. Let's dive straight in. So the trailer opens up with a balloon head of Mark coming out of the lift, which was a little bit weird to see in itself. But then that kind of leads into Mark S walking down the basement again with these balloon heads that kind of are floating their way up. And what I think for me, these balloons represent throughout the whole intro are his thoughts, his memories, parts of himself escaping and floating away from him. So this means that he now has to get all these balloons back together, all of his thoughts, reclaim his memories, so he can actually piece everything together. Of course, he then continues and begins to search through what looks like a dark and gloomy brain. And within the reflection of that is actually a version of Helly and Gemma. Now again, this is prominent throughout this intro and probably is going to be in the series. His thoughts are torn between both of those people. You've got Mark's innie on one hand and Mark's outie on the other. One for Helly, one for Gemma. And now everything is starting to become mixed together. And Mark's innie is now trying to piece together what happens to his wife's outie. And I probably do suspect that Mark's outie is probably going to do a bit of digging himself and probably start investigating Helena and the board. So these four people, or, three people, start mixing together. Now, he then does shine a light on himself and his innie version, but they both seem to be standing on another version of Mark. It all gets weird, as you can expect in a Severance intro. And then as he wakes up, we see several different babies that have dotted around. And to me, they kind of look like the Boss Baby, that animation film. But it's just weird that babies are kind of the key feature here. And I wonder why. But I'll touch on that in just a moment. Now, he's then put onto a chip and inserted into a brain before coming out the other end. Now, for me, I'm going to tug here a little bit on one of Steve's theories that he had, which is, can the consciousness, for example, in this instance, Mark, be taken like it would be for an innie, but actually inserted into another body? So could all that good stuff that's been put into Mark's innie actually be put into the body of someone else, like Dylan, for example? And then actually he's walking around in Dylan's body, but with the consciousness of Mark. Is that what these innies are actually working towards with the numbers? To be able to separate the consciousness into other people and therefore create some kind of immortality in a way? Because actually, the Eagans, I could imagine, would probably be quite grateful to be able to pass on their brain from one person to another, meaning that they never actually die and the bloodline will always, to a degree, continue. We then obviously get to see a nice masterpiece of art, which then gets transformed into the head of a goat in a very weird way. Now, I have speculated before in my season 2 trailer breakdown that goats could be used as part of a satanic reference. So actually, is this head of the goat, this person who was on the masterpiece, an actual leader? And this is why it was turned into a goat, because it represented a satanic lead, potentially even the lead of an Egan. They are doing things that probably do cross the boundaries of good and evil. And then the next interesting piece we get is actually a shot of what I'm going to say is Gemma's car crash, because there's a car crashed in the distance. The weather looks pretty much the same as it does near Mark's house anyway. So actually, could this be a foreshadow of us seeing the scene of the incident where Gemma was supposedly burnt and then died in this crash? But actually, she was then taken and harvested and put into the Severance program to some degree. Now, again, we see a lot of balloons here that seem to be floating upwards. And again, this could be kind of the key link where Mark has witnessed Gemma in this crash. And from that point is where he's lost his mind. His thoughts have moved on. His memories are starting to go because he's only got this one fixation and this one focus. And this then, of course, leads us into the next scene where we see several versions of Mark's innie and outie on what seems to be a page of a book. And also on that page is versions of Helly and Gemma. And again, it's just kind of reaffirming that thought that Mark is torn between both Helly and Gemma, with his inside and outside version fighting for the one person. But it's all to uncover the truth. But why is Mark so important? And I am going to get to that in just a moment. So then again, his head inflates and ends up knocking over some kind of probiotic drinks, you know, the little good bacteria ones. Now, one of these knocks over and it looks like there's some kind of parasite or a worm within the bottle. Now, it could be just a throwaway thing to mess with our mind like Severance does. But what if this is actually something that helps them control the inside and external bodies? When they do the emergency protocol and, you know, allow them to kind of get into the outies body, that can't just be done from a chip. So what about if they are drinking something and that contains this parasite that allows them to take over the body? Now, the kind of final point that I want to touch on within the trailer, which does connect to the reason why Mark is so important, is the final scene of that intro where he wakes up and we see, again, another baby on the floor. But yet this one looks a lot like Kia Egan. Now, I did have a wild theory once, and I'm going to throw it out to you now. What if Mark is a descendant of the Eagans? And this is a kind of this is kind of the show predicting that and getting that across to us. So what about if somewhere down the line someone has had a baby and then it, you know, Mark S is here as a descendant, and that kind of bloodline has been forgotten about or cast aside? Now, you've got two thoughts to this. This is why Helena has thrown herself into the Severance program, because she knows this and wants to find out more and dig a little bit deeper. And again, why she was so shocked when Helly and Mark kissed is because she knows that Mark could potentially be a descendant of the Eagans. And then on the flip side of that, we ask ourselves all the time, why is Mark so important? And that's because technically he is a descendant of the Eagans, so he has this ability to handle Project Cold Harbor, whatever it may be, whether that's going down the route of immortality, whether that's going down the route of fixing Gemma's memories because she has somehow created something back in the college days. I'm not sure. You know, me and Steve have got some different opposing theories on this, and our brains are constantly turning. But what if he's a descendant and that's why he's important? Now, overall, the intro was great, as the series is. And there's a lot of things from the season 1 intro that actually came to light, like the black goo that was constantly seen. And that ended up being true with Irving as he saw that black goo. Now, in this one, we're seeing a lot of babies in here. So at some point, are we going to find out the truth about Mark's heritage? Or even worse, is someone going to have a baby within the Severance program? And that's kind of the key to the importance of it all. So I am just throwing wild theories out here at you, just hoping that one sticks, because that's what we love to do at QDads. We love to just throw theories out there. So please do let me know in the comments. Do you think that Mark could be a descendant of the Eagans? And do you think that actually the consciousness of one person could be put into another body? And is that what Project Cold Harbor actually is? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as it really does help us to grow. And me and Steve, honestly, we appreciate this community we're slowly building. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time with something new.